Call it the transfer trend, the newest phase in college basketball. Last year, over 450 players switched schools, and this year we can expect nearly as many. How bad is it? Well, according to the NCAA, 40% of men's basketball players won't be playing for their original school by the end of their sophomore year. To discuss the issue, we bring in CI's own Seth Davis. Seth, NCAA President Mark Emmert called it a lack of persistence. Where do you stand on the issue?
Well, I'm not sure this is entirely a bad thing, Ray. I mean, if you have a player who is in a situation where, for whatever reason, he's not happy, doesn't see a long-term future at that school, if he can go to a place where he can get the opportunity, it can be good for him, it can be good for the school that he's leaving, and it can be good for the school that he's going to. So in that sense, I don't have a problem with it. If anything, I wouldn't mind seeing it opened up a little bit in the sense that I don't like that schools have a chance to release or not release players to certain schools. If you want to address to the degree that this is a problem, Ray, I think you need to open it up in the recruiting process. There are too many limitations from coaches to potential recruits as to how often they can watch them play and how much contact they can have with those players. If you open that up and allow more communication between coaches and recruits, I think you'd have fewer mistakes.
So what do you think the NCAA would do, if anything, with this issue?
Well, there's just not much that they can do in terms of the transferring. I think they've been a little bit inconsistent. For example, we now have this graduate transfer rule, which we'll talk about in a little bit, where guys, if they get their undergraduate degree, they can go to another school without having to sit out. If you're trying to limit transfers, that's not a good way to do it. And also, they, I think, have opened up a Pandora's box here with these hardship waivers, where if a player says he wants to transfer to be closer to home or closer to a sick relative, they apply for a waiver to be able to play right away. That's never made any sense to me, Ray. If you've got a sick relative, wouldn't you want to take the year off so you can spend time taking care of your loved one? I think it just opens up abuse.
All right, so this offseason, who are some of the bigger name transfers that you'll be keeping an eye on?
Well, let me give you three, Ray, who jump out at me. Mike Moser from UNLV, Tarek Black, a big man from Memphis, and then Eli Carter is a sophomore guard from Rutgers. Now, in Carter's case, he left Rutgers because of what happened with Mike Rice. But those other two guys, I think, will have a chance to help their future schools. Mike Moser, this is actually the second time that he's looking to transfer. To me, that's a huge, huge red flag. But he has shown enough in the past at UCLA and UNLV. He's from Portland. He's looking at Oregon. He's looking at Gonzaga. He's looking at Washington. I think he'll decide soon. Tarek Black is one of those graduate transfers that I mentioned. He got his degree, so he'll be able to play right away next season. I know that Richard Pitino, the new coach at Minnesota, is interested in him. A lot of schools are interested in him, including some blue bloods like Duke and Kansas. So Tarek Black, I think, is going to have a chance to make an impact next year somewhere else. All
right, let's go back to Rutgers for a moment. As you know, a ton of talent leaving New Jersey following Mike Rice's firing. Which other programs were hurt most by kids leaving?
Well, 5 in all are transferring from Rutgers. So new coach Eddie Jordan, I hope he has a nice long-term contract with some guaranteed money, because it's going to be a very slow rebuild. But, you know, the other schools that come to mind, one is Kansas State, which lost its point guard, Angel Rodriguez. He's going back to his hometown of Miami. Again, he's going to apply for a hardship waiver to try to play right away. He really improved from his freshman to sophomore year. I think that's a very tough blow for Bruce Weber's program. And then maybe the biggest shocker of all was Rodney Purvis leaving NC State to go to UConn. Purvis was a huge recruit for Mark Gottfried. He's from Raleigh, from North Carolina. NC State was losing a ton of players and not having much coming back next year. So the fact that they now do not have Rodney Purvis, to me, was a devastating blow.
All right, so the old saying goes, you need a scorecard to keep track of all the movement. All right, Seth Davis, thanks very much.
All right, Ray.
Speaking of new faces and new places, meet the next crop of quarterbacks who will be making headlines in college football this fall, only on CampusInsiders.com.